Hello, everybody. How are you today? Are you worried? Are you full of anxiety about your future? Is it full of uncertainty? You're not sure you're going to be okay. And the scenarios that you make about the future, a lot of them include things that you don't want or you don't like. Personally, as I mentioned in another video, I'm coming to an end of the 3 months of renting this Airbnb. And my husband and I are not getting back together, not right now anyway. So I have to start looking for a new place to live and start the whole process of uncertainty all over again. My point about this is that it's getting harder to quiet my mind, because I feel that pressure coming up. And the thing is, I know that it's even more important that I quiet my mind in this moment of uncertainty, because it's by quieting my mind that I'm going to be allowing life to come up with solutions, or that I'll simply have clearer thoughts and better intuition as to which steps to take, right? So because I know what I'm supposed to do, then, automatically it goes into recrimination, right? Against myself. You know better. You know you have to quiet your mind. Find ways to quiet your mind. Annie, you must quiet your mind. And it's kind of not serving the right purpose here. So in an effort to get to that place, in the last week, I went to 2 hikes that took me to places where no one is around. And even though my mind was still going, even during the hike, even though I get more in the moment when I'm connecting to nature and just looking at all the aliveness around me, I made myself sit down in a beautiful place in the shade and told myself, Annie, you have to sit until something shifts. And both times I managed to come to a point where the presence, the isness of this beautiful nature, which makes it easier to access, where that presence became louder than my thoughts. I still had my thoughts, but it was as if there was a part of me that was just like in a quiet humming, and somewhere below my thoughts were hovering, and I was like, oh yeah, I see. But there was this mellow openness that was louder. That's the way I can say it. That was louder than my thoughts. That was really satisfying. Of course, it didn't last that long, and then I came down and started working and kind of back into the things that I feel I have to do and my concerns. But it was like walking again on a not well-established path, and it just reminded me, oh yeah, here's the path. I know how to get there. So that was a really good thing. Last night I was in bed and my mind going and thinking, okay, Annie, you have to find a way to get back to that place more often. You've got to make space. You have to find a way to access this presence more often, because as I don't, I can feel like this quiet panic rising from within me that I am expertly, out of a lot of practice, nicely containing, but I know that it's there. So last night I went back to a really big, important, essential question. What is life trying to express through me? If I got out of the way, what is it that life is trying to express through me? What is God, life, the source, trying to have emerge from me? Because there is an impulse to life. We all know that. There's an impulse that has the apple tree make apples. There's an impulse of life that tells a bee to go and collect pollen, that make birds migrate, that makes our body function and our heart pump. There is an impulse to life. Its only purpose is to have that divine seed that is planted in our soul come to fruition. Have that develop into what it is supposed to be. There is an unfoldment of ourselves that is planted and programmed in our brain. The only thing is that we have the ability to block it. But my question and my feeling was, What is my unfoldment if I got out of the way? Hey, if you think other people could benefit from the messages in my videos, the best way for them to get to see it is for you to subscribe, give me a like, write a comment, or even share. Thanks. And just kind of an aside, this unfoldment, our purpose, doesn't mean it has to be a grand one thing, right? That unfoldment is a thing that happens at every moment. Life is always pulsing through us and making us move toward the unfolding of the seed that was planted in us when we were born. And I really think that something we are meant to learn is to get out of the way, to make way, to quiet the noise, to clear the junk thoughts, to remove our contracting emotions, all these things that prevent life from just doing us, from doing its thing and just realizing us in the world. And to do that, it's even more subtle. We have to let go of our desire to figure things out. We have to let go of wanting to know what comes next, what is on the other side of this thing that I'm trying to do, to fix, to overcome right now. And last night I'm reading through ANITA MOORJANI'S book, Dying to Be Me. I'll put a link below. It's a woman who died of cancer, who had a near-death experience, and it was extraordinary. And when she came back, she completely healed, and she had a lot of revelations of the state that she experienced when she died. In her book, she says, people ask me, is it your beliefs that made you heal? And she said, it's actually the absence of beliefs that allowed me to heal. She said, when I was willing to let go of what I wanted, I received what was truly mine. And that really got me. I know she was talking about death and healing her life, but it really resonated with me last night. Somehow, not all the time, I know we have to motivate ourselves and have goals, but at some point, sometime, we actually have to let go of our strongest desires. We have to have moments where we have an absence of beliefs and where we have an absence of story. Because everything we believe is based on our stories, and our stories fuel our thoughts and our scenarios and our worries. So we have to come to a point for a moment, and I think that's a lot of the purpose of meditation. We have to come to moments where we let go of all that. And that actually links to the video I did a few days ago about that space of uncertainty and unknown containing all the possibilities in it, if we have the courage to surrender to it and to trust and to open ourselves up to it. So, as I was saying, I think we have to meditate that way. We have to meditate with the courage to not pay attention to our worries and our thoughts, to the things that we're trying to figure out. We actually have to drop our prayers and stop asking things from God or even asking things of ourselves, and just kind of sit there as a life form that is there to receive, open for this impulse, this breeze of life to flow through us and again do its thing. I remember years ago having a moment where I just dropped into that state of being. We were living on the East Coast in Massachusetts on the ocean, and there was this big snowstorm that was just a whiteout with the craziness of the wind and the waves crashing and all that. And I went outside, yes, crazy me. I bundled up, I went outside with a couple Mexican blankets, and I found an area where some big boulders were creating a little bit of protection. And I huddled in there and I laid down, a blanket under me, a blanket over me, and imagined, yeah, I know I have quite an imagination. Imagine that I was a husky dog, like a sleigh dog in the middle of the Arctic. and that this huge storm was blowing, and that the dog would just lay there, all the snow piling on top while the wind and the cold is just whirling around, and just being there. That was kind of an empty mind, or at least as empty as I imagine a husky dog lying under a pile of snow in a storm in the Arctic would be. Not thinking, how long is it gonna last? I missed dinner, or when am I gonna run again? And I hope that my friend's okay and all that. Just there, letting the elements in life be and just being. So that was actually a pretty cool experiment. I recommend it, but do what you want. So last night, in the middle of the night when I recorded this stuff, I had another interesting simile. Not a metaphor, not an analogy. I've looked into what these things are. A simile. Maybe I'm not pronouncing it right. So it's that idea of life being a breeze that wants to just move through us. And I imagine you have to follow me with this. Our body's like being a room, and we have these balls of yarn that are our thoughts. And every thought is like throwing the ball of yarn around with the thread, the yarn just zipping and zooming and tying to things and going over a lamp and hooking up there and just throwing thoughts. And all of these thoughts, they start creating this mesh that is preventing life and the breeze from just flowing through. And the more we think, the thicker it gets. And the more we are preventing what is us, what life is trying to express through us from flowing through and for us to express and become more of who we are. And in that, I had another really funny little image. Most of you must know Garfield, right? The cartoon, the big cat. And I was imagining whoever comes home at the end of the day, finding Garfield in a room filled with yarn all across, and Garfield being like kind of caught up. It was just this stupid expression in his face, like, oh, what happened to me? Okay, finally, I have a gentler image to help us calm the mind for those of us who have a hard time doing it when we meditate, which lately is me. And it's imagining that our thoughts, our worries, our solutions, our projections into the future, our regrets, our resistances, all of those are shields that we raise around us. Every thought, every resistance, every worry, it's a shield that we raise, and those shields prevent life, the breeze, the breath of life, from flowing through us to allow us to be who we are. So I actually practiced this last night, just of saying, life, I'm putting down my shields. I'm allowing you to flow through me and move through me. I am available, I am accessible, and I am willing. I am lowering my shields to allow you a safe passage through me. Let's lower our shields as often as we can. Bye.